Oh, good evening. Welcome. My name is Kwabena. Welcome. I've been discussing the content of this book, which is perspective, how to develop the mindset to start and build your own business. It is a book review that we are doing, and we are on the third chapter, the second part, and we are doing kinds of education. Education is a constructive effort to give an information which can be used to do something. It's a constructive effort to extract or to be impacted with an information which becomes knowledge that you can use to do something. And so the things that you struggle with, the things that I struggle with, the things that I don't get the required results, usually is because the kind of education that we have had in that area may not be that solid, may not be that strong. And so we live in a country where we like going to school, and we cherish people who have a lot of certificate. And so people, when you are in the class and you think that you are the first, when your teachers are describing you, or when they tell your daughter or your son that he's the best in the class, usually people think that those will necessarily translate into being successful in a society, and not necessarily so. Not necessarily so, especially not with having at least some level of financial freedom, and not with achieving something that you really believe you were brought on this earth to do. And so the kind of attention, the kind of importance that you have given to only one kind of education really has not done the world that much good, because the results prove that you don't only become successful in this life just by being very good in the classroom. And yet parents are very much worried when the children are not doing well, because they panic. They want their child to have all the 100% in the school. And if the child is not getting 100%, it becomes a big issue. Becomes a big issue. And so we go straight to the second part, and there are different kinds of education, and each has its relevance. The number one is academic education. This is the kind of education required through schooling. The academic one is the one that you go to school, from primary to secondary and to the rest. It largely does not prepare us to take risk and to go the way of business. Usually, business education is not from the classroom. It is important and imperative, but the kind of education they give us, the academic one, is important. It's imperative. They teach us to read, to write, to get some kind of profession, but itself alone, but it has so many limitations, especially the one that we are giving. you know you have to complete this kind of education and be able to at least think on your feet and be able to look for problems and solve them. But the one that we have, there's a lot that we have to do to improve on them. So this type of education only creates a pattern for us to follow, and that is complete school, look for job, marry, live for your life, or live for yourself. The academic, the importance that we are giving so much to the academic education, is it just helps us to live the social script. We just happen to live the social life, go get the best degrees, go after that, go and look for a job, become all the professions that they have listed out there, and then you marry and you live for salary, and that's the end. I think that is purely because we only run with the academic kind of education, and most people think that that's the only education there is. But I think there are other things that come to play. That's why when you look, you meet your friend who just completed JSS or SSI and you have gone to have a lot of academic education. The only place that you think you have an advantage over him is only in academics, in the certificate. The rest of life, everybody has a fair chance if they have the other information, the other education. So the second one is career related education. After academic education, the next kind of education we acquire usually or by default is career or professional education. We learn this depending on where we get to go, work after school. This is essential because that is where we develop our professional work ethics, and our technical expertise. Those who did not only study technical education at the academic stage can still have the chance to learn anything technical. This is where we get to develop skills that we can leverage on in starting a business. It can be finance, manufacturing, agriculture, and programming, etc. The thing is, the career kind of education. Usually, you you know maybe you completed with psychology from Lego, and then you happen to work with maybe let's say a bank. Really, the academic education that you had and working in a bank, you know, it's not so much. But after some years, some 3, 4, 5 years, you seem to have gathered some kind of information, some kind of education in this kind of profession that you have had. That is something that becomes another form of education to you. It's a profession that you have developed because you get to work in a specific industry. If you went to work in, say, if you went to work with, let's say, cocoa producing company, the same thing. You will end up learning a lot from that area. If you happen to go and work in the mining sector, after some years, you seem to get a lot of information in that sector. So career education is critical. And if you happen to have gone to some kind of school and you didn't, after the certificate, you didn't get any technical professional life, you may try to find an industry that you think will help you to develop a profession. Will help you to develop a profession. So the mechanic also has an education in that it's a form of education. It's not coming from directly from the classroom, but it's a conscious data that somebody is giving to them. So the carpenter has a certain kind of education. You may not call it as an education, but he has an information that he can use. He becomes a carpenter. Everybody after the academic education will happen to work in a particular industry. And that kind of industry you seem to gather. The same with business. If you happen to be an entrepreneur, you gather some kind of information. And after a while, you become some kind of informed individual, and you start to make the right choices in that kind of field. So the first one is academic. The second one is career related education, and everyone has some kind of, and usually that's where people, majority of the world's population, that's where they usually make some kind of income, and most people would maybe think that that is enough. Family and relationship education is the third one, and this is the type of education where we are cultured into family and society, where our courage maybe developed there, our social and emotional skills are developed from this stage. Unfortunately, a lot of us were just born into family, but there was, I don't think majority of us grew up with a specific structured training in terms of family and relationship, where the children or where you or where I, was trained and trained with a particular ending in mind, the kind of child that they wanted you to become. Let's say the profession, the school, the character that they wanted you to become. Usually, you are born in a family and you have uncles and sisters and extended family, and then they train you into a culture and they tell you that you're a Ghanaian, you are a Sante person, you are this, and that's all. There's not that much constructive training. Maybe we are doing fine, I don't know. So, in terms of emotional maturity, in terms of courage development, in terms of character development, I think it is just left instead of it being structured where the father, the mother is involved in bringing up this kind of education to the family, and we end up using it to build a family. We end up using it to build a relationship. We end up using it to build all kind of network. And yet, most of us were not equipped in that kind of education. So it is so important that we are educated well, because it is where we are usually taught values. The value that you have for another human being, the kindness that you show, the compassion. Most of it will come from this kind of training that you have. If your family train you to value human beings and to respect people, it will stay with you. If nobody told you and you were just on the guy, you were just left like in a free range kind of thing, you will not have the right information. So one day you are very good, very nice to people, respectful. The next day you are off board because you are not taught properly. You're not educated in terms of the family and relationship and how to connect and work with people, how to even take instructions. These things may or should be taught to people. It's not just that they left, it's you are left on your own. And then when you are grown up, they expect a lot of results from you. It doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen like that. That's why most people struggle with this kind of education, and yet it's very much key. So how we take correction is usually it's coming from this kind of background. If you happen to work with people, interview people, and you see people who stayed with their parents or some kind of authority who trained them, it's easier for them to work with instructions. It's easier for them to pay attention. But if nobody was there and they were, they fed themselves, they took care of themselves, they grew up without anybody leading or directing them, you see that it's tough for such people to take instructions and to work with instructions and work with authority. Why? Because there was no proper deliberate attempt for that person or for that individual to be educated. So family education is very much important. Divorce and all those things are coming from there, because if you have good information, then you may at least have a fair chance of trying. And if the two people involved were maybe educated in this and trained and skilled in this, they will have a fair chance of having a good family. They say the courage of the child. Usually, we were brought up with just corrections. Most parents from our community, we just correct the child by punishing. We just shout, but we are not training them to guide them and to give them confidence, to give them courage. And we are not even training them to a point where they have to believe in their own choices and decision. We train them to look up. So by the time that you have been trained from this kind of system, usually you don't even have confidence in yourself. You don't believe in yourself, because almost every decision was made by you, and every decision that you made will be corrected and you'll be punished if you're wrong. And you are told to respect the people who came before you, whether you like it or not. When they are wrong, you still don't have the power to challenge them. Now, this kind of training does not help the entrepreneur, where you are told not to believe in your own ability to choose. So when you are bringing those children up and you are choosing for them, you're protecting them. You are just tuning them for a life that they cannot build business. They cannot take risk. They cannot stand on their own. They cannot defend what they put out, because all that they were brought up in this kind of family education is what is for the father to decide for them, is for the mother to decide for them, and those children are overprotected. It is another form of education. That is why the other ones who didn't have so much good academic knowledge, good academic information, but are coming from a family where some kind of confidence was put in them, so whereas they became assertive because the father believed in their decision, they trained them, they brought them up to at least challenge the status quo. Those children will have a fair chance of competing with any other, because you don't have just one form of education to compete. There are other ones, so the academic one is there, the profession kind of education is there, and then there is the family one. And I think family one is so key. It's so key. It's so key, because your identity, your confidence, your courage that you express, the morality, your ability to even endure pain and persevere. Discipline is usually here. Discipline is usually here. It's not the school. If you're waiting for the class teacher to discipline them, it will be very difficult. Even though they still spend a lot of time with them. It is the duty of the family to stabilize the children for the future. So this one is very key. If you know that your father believes in you, if the child knows that the mother is confident in their choice and decision and is proud of them, they'll grow up with better self-awareness, self-identity than the one that are not so sure of the confidence that they have in them. So it's key, and it's key. And that's why I think that, the more you grow up being able to, it's not that you expect the child not to make mistake. They should be able to make mistake and still feel like they accept it. That is key. That if they are only encouraged when they are right and they are punished when they are wrong, they grow up with twisted self image and it's coming from the family. And the next one is faith or spiritual education. You cannot take spirituality from the Africans. If you meet two of them, they'll be praying and singing to God. And for us, worship is singing to God. When we go to church and we sing, it means that we have worshiped God. I think the quality form of worship is the work that you do, the one that the master told you to do. The proof of your work, the results that you're producing is, for me, the utmost form of worship. It's not the drumming and dancing and the music that people are sweating, saying that they're worshiping God. So faith education, spiritual education is so critical. It's so critical because for the majority of us, God is everything. God is everything. And so we studied God and we did not look at the laws that He made for a lot of things to work. So we're still waiting for God to give us direction, to give us, come and do a lot of things for us, to make us rich, to make us healthy, to protect us from evil, and to protect us from demons and witchcraft. That is the kind of spiritual education that most of us have grown up with. And that is a weak one. That is a weak one. So if you have a dream and you're still waiting for God to give you go ahead to do, you may never do it. So if you have a business idea and you are waiting for a prophet to say that go and do it, before you do it, you're waiting for a green light from your, people who give you spiritual direction, you have a problem. It means that your faith or spiritual education is that weak. And so our religious organization is more, the organization, religious education is more powerful than the academic one because that's where you can get spiritual and belief system. Belief system is okay. Belief system is okay. What you believe. A lot of us believe that everything is superstitious. It is the determinant of why we do what we do. Humans are spiritual, they say. Humans are spiritual. So it is where we express our faith and compassion in good and bad times. When somebody's spiritual education is weak and they meet challenges, they start to look for demons and they start to look for somebody from their family who does not want them to be prosper. They start to look for all kind of things. That's why they can go and sit under the feet of somebody who cannot read, who cannot write. And they say that they're teaching them about God and they believe it because they themselves did not have that basic spiritual education. This is where we develop our strength of our spirit and philosophy. That is why a professor can go to an uneducated spiritual religious leader for education and protection, for direction and protection. We express our hope and morals from this kind of education. Spiritual education is okay. It's okay. If you believe that you are weak, if you believe that somebody else has power to protect you, and you have to go and look for all kind of things, then your spiritual education is weak. But I believe that there is God. I believe that it is important. I believe in Jesus Christ, but I don't believe in Jesus Christ as waiting for Him to come and help me, to protect me, and to do everything for me. I believe that the thoughts, the ideas, the wisdom that that He said, those things, I think those are the things that you need to thrive on this earth. So when you are an entrepreneur, when you're a business person, you use the principles, the ideologies, the things that have worked to build the business. You are not looking for magic somewhere, looking for prayer. Sometimes people open businesses and people would have to come and pour all kind of oil and declare all kind of things for the business to work. The way I see it, businesses thrive on principles. And where principles are not known, nothing else can correct it. So we have been trained to just forget about the principles, forget about the laws, forget about the things that work, and say that just pray. And that is a weak spiritual knowledge. knowledge. And so there was a time that we had some problems in our businesses, and the only solution that people who are spiritual will tell us that go and pray. Go and pray. I think that if it's about prayer, it is communion with your Father. But if it's about challenging your business, go and look for the solution. That's why He gave us brains. That's why He gave us thought. And if you're praying for anything, you're praying for direction, not for Him to come and solve it for you. And there are a lot of those directions that you can, if you keep, expanding and learning. That's why He left the Bible. Because what you know is so much important. The education that you have had, so much important. That's why any boy at all can come and make himself a prophet over you, and you follow him, and they will use fear to control you all your life. You don't even believe in your own. A lot of people don't even believe that they have direct link with Christ or with God. They believe that somebody else must take them to Christ because they have made them to believe that, bring a picture, I can take this money for you. And you see human beings going there to believe that. He's building a business. He believes that there is something somewhere. That's the reason why the business is not doing well. If you're like that, it means that your spiritual education is non-existent. You go to church, but you don't know the God that you're serving. There's a lot that He left in our hands on this earth, and He's not coming here to solve them. We are in charge. Yeah. So your business, if it's not working, look into the mirror. The one that you see is the problem. It's you. It is you. It's nobody. It's the level of skill that you have developed. It's the level of discipline, level of knowledge, understanding, how much you are ready to work. Because if there is a problem and it weakens you, if there is a challenge and you become helpless, it means that your education really is weak. So it's my name is Kwabena. I'm doing a book review, and it's on perspective, how to develop the mindset to start and build your own business. We have done the introduction, the chapter 1. We have done the chapter 2, and we are doing the chapter 3, second part. And this one we are talking about kinds of education. We're saying that the first kind of education that we put there is academic education. And that's why most people, 95% of the world's population, that's the kind of education that we respect so much. We respect it so much. The one that they give us certificate and degrees. And most people think that that is what that you need. That's why you can see a father say that, when I send my child to school, I've done my part. The next one is career education, where you develop a specific career, specific technical skills that you can work with, you get a job with, and which people can pay you. The next one is family or relationship education. Is so much important. Because most people will end up having a family, wife, children, or if nothing at all, you were born into a family. The ability to develop the skills, to work with people, and to cherish the ability to develop yourself and understand yourself usually comes from this kind of education. The next one is spiritual or faith education. Most people express faith or believe in the divinity. And I believe that if you believe in God, you should see that you want to exhibit the nature of God, the love, the kindness, the character, the morals. Those are the things that you should express. But when it comes to getting some things done, you are not waiting to say, I'm going to pray about it, and by the time of finish praying, especially when it has to do with business and finance. It is not those things. So they come out of principles. People are developing. If anything at all, you'll still be giving some kind of inspiration, but you still have to go to the field and work and try and be willing to go through what the people go through for things to work. So there are laws, there are principles, and we get to know them because we have some kind of education. The education is really a constructive effort to get the required information of how to do something to get results. It's deliberate. You're not educated in it if it was not done with the right information to produce results. You are just acquainted with it. So health and fitness education is also what you eat, what you drink, the discipline you have, how health conscious you are. It's coming from the kind of conscious information, data that you have on health. So we can have very good vision, but if you're not healthy, energetic, we cannot move around to execute it. Your physical body needs energy. If you don't have energy, your vision is, if you can't get up from the bed and go to work, it's difficult for you to realize a lot of the dreams that you have. And the energy that you have, the carefulness, the fitness that you have, they are coming from the kind of information that you have. When you go to the shop or when you go to the store, what kind of food do you buy? Do you buy the processed one or you buy the organic one? What do you buy? What kind of food do you eat? Bread, white, or the brown one, the fiber? Whatever that you eat, whatever that you drink, they have a lot to do with the health that you enjoy, you know, and it's all coming from what you know. It's the taste palette that you have. It's coming from the family, the food that your parents cook for you, or your grandmother or your grandfather, help you to have. So, what we eat and why we eat is from the health and fitness education that we have. Knowing how to take care of your body and environment requires education. Knowing how to take care of your body and environment requires this kind of education. If you continue to live in filth and waste and still hope that we will live to be 70, 100, that is a lie. That is a lie. The water, the quality of the environment that we live in is coming from the kind of education. So the more uninformed people are in terms of health and fitness, the more complicated their lives are, the more sicknesses they have, the more complications they have, the more they die. Because it's just the information that you have. If you are driving, for instance, if you're health conscious, you know the kind of speed limit that you're going to go. Because you have some kind of information. It's not like, like the way you have, if you are picking VIP from here to Kumasi, somebody will come and pray and say that God will take you to Kumasi. That's all that we know. But the driver must go with instructions. The driver must drive, must rest, must know that he's taking about 50 people to Kumasi. He has to take him maybe 4 hours. He has to rest every 1 hour. There's a speed limit that he must go. These are all kind of information that he must adhere to. But if you don't know them, you just say that, okay, I will drive, and even if I'm sleeping, I will go. And then the next minute you hear that there is an accident, and then they are telling us that it's a demon. It is the kind of education that we have in terms of life, health, and fitness. So if you are eating kelewele every day, if you are eating all those kind of food that you are eating, they're going to affect your health. And if they affect your health, somebody will come and tell you that it is demon. It is not demon. It is not demon. The human being has a very complex structure. Your body does not just break like that. If you take care of what goes into your system, at least there is a certain health that you get to enjoy. You need rest. You need the brain to work. You need air. You can allow your stomach to grow like that and expect to be healthy. You're a young man, but because you had a nice bank job, your stomach is very huge, and you think that it means that you are wealthy now. It is a blessing. No, it shows that you don't know much about your health in the body and how it works. So there are things that we have to educate ourselves, and once we know it, we may have a fair chance of practicing them, and maybe we may produce some kind of results with the kind of education that we have. So the sit one, that is the fit one, the health and fitness kind of education. The sit one is racial, cultural, or historical kind of education. And that one is, in this book, I attempted to establish the importance of history relating to the Africans. African race have been mutilated, annihilated, have been destroyed by wrong history for the last 150, 200 years. Slavery and colonization brought a lot of damage to the Africans, people who look like me. And we have grown up with a lot of wrong data on ourselves, and we have grown up to be, we have some kind of identity crisis. And it is there because, what we call culture is when we are drumming and dancing and wearing kente and put on those things on our head, and we say that we have culture. Culture is an information, education that makes a people to dominate. That's culture. Dominate the environment, solve relevant things to make life easy for their people. That really is the definition of culture. It's not the one that you are drumming and dancing. No, the culture is a force that trains people to be productive. So if your culture has brought you not to give attention to the importance of time, where you rather are proud of the work that human beings will do than bringing out a better technology to solve the same problem, so that human values, because the culture, if they place value on human beings, they are always looking for something to make things easier for the human beings, so they are looking for, okay, instead of the people to walk from here to Tamale, now we are thinking of how to make mobility, how to make use technology to transport the same human being from here to Tamale. If your culture is not thinking of that, then it's a backward culture, and unfortunately that is what we have been growing. That's why we get to live. So when we are dancing and drumming, they tell us that that is culture. That really is not culture. The culture is the one thinking of, okay, now the people are 1 million, how are we going to clothe them? What kind of technology, what kind of industry can we build to take care of the people? Now we have to educate 10 million people. What are we going to do? We cannot have the people who cannot read, who cannot write, who cannot think. Now we have to house this kind of people. We have sanitation problem. The culture, if you have, the culture should push the people to work, to be disciplined, and to dominate the environment. That is culture. If you say that, oh, they say that, oh, the business culture, the company culture is very robust, they are very productive. That is it. The way people behave towards their goals, where they want to go. And so you can't say that you want to develop, yet this culture does not care about how people use their time, about how people treat themselves, about how people adhere to laws, challenge the status quo, the laws that don't work, the technology that is not helping us. It means that we are not, we don't even understand what they call culture. If you understand the culture, you're looking at how to make life better, convenient, comfortable for the masses, so that they can live long, they can live in health, they can live in peace, and be more productive to the progress of the society. That really is culture. The other things that they have told us, they are something else. So the drumming and dancing and all those definitions that they have put in all the books, that's why we're still not developing. Because we think that we can still do those things and still progress as a people, and that really is not working. So if we give Africans all the relevant academic education but fail to do this, we will produce a generation of Africans who will know so much about everything except themselves. The Africans know very little about themselves. The Africans are so much quick to embrace and accept a definition from everybody. What the Europeans tell us about ourselves, that is what we believe. Tell us about they even tell us about the history, and we believe it, because there is no proper education. You cannot raise a dominating people who want to dominate and take charge of the environment, if they don't have the right sense of history and the right sense of data on themselves and on their heroes and on their achievement. So the kuku that they are doing is not the culture. It's not the culture. It's not the culture. So correcting the historic and systemic errors on the African continent and their descendants cannot be overemphasized. This is so pivotal to our development. And so if an African, you must know that you are not cursed as an African. The black man is not cursed. The black man may have problems, but he's not cursed. Nobody cursed him. God did not curse the black man. And the fact that they have painted Jesus white and they painted the devil black does not mean that the devil is black and Jesus is white. As a matter of fact, if you look at the environment and the climate that Jesus himself lived in, he couldn't have been the picture that they put on TV and in the films, And why would you make Jesus white and the devil black? And we see everything that painted black. If you're watching TV and you see any examples that they're giving about black farming, and wars, then you see that they will pop up the African there. When it comes to technology and future, they will not put the African there. There's a lot of programming that we have to fight. We have to fight. This does not mean that we hate other people, no. It's common humanity. It's the same blood. If you are O and they put your O in a Chinese man, it will work. Who is O? If they put it in an Indian man, it will work. If they put it in a European man, it will work. The same thing. If they have to remove your hat and put another hat, and they get an American person who is white and they cut the hat and put it there. So far as the other things are in place, it will work. So it's a common human race. Nobody is better than the other. But at least they have been able to tell us that we are backward and we are barbaric. You know, our major problem is the definition that we have on ourselves, on culture, and the data that we've been processing. Because the data that we've been processing is not the data that is helping us to live, to dominate. You know, it should be a data that is helping us to value ourselves as a people. Value ourselves as a people, and know that the one with the better technology will always dominate. So if you are still pounding the fufu like that, somebody else is looking at a machine to do the fufu, the other one is thinking. The other one is thinking. So you don't cherish the one working physically and think and classify it as culture. The one who is using the brain, because the only advantage the human beings have over all the other animals is the ability to think, to use their brain. And so if a group of people is not using their brain, then it means that nothing is going to improve that much quickly from them. And that is the challenge that we are having as a people. You know, and so your racial education is very much important. The innovation, the science and technology, the rest of the world did not. It's not like it's 1,000 years old. It's just 150 years that a lot of this technology that we see have come into existence. It's not so much. No, it's not far. And so it's just that about that time that those things were happening, we were still fighting for freedom and for identity and for acceptance, and we still are locked up in that. You know, and it is a tough call, but at least as an individual, you can educate yourself in this. So the next one is personal education. Personal education. Every one of us came to this life, you know, to solve a problem, and God has gifted us accordingly. Every human being, your number one or your major thing that you have to define is why are you here on earth? And what gift do you have? What is it that you have to contribute? The moment you solve that thing, a lot of the other things will fall in place. So you should know it. What is it that you were made to contribute to this life? Were you made to take care of some people somewhere, to bring in innovation technology? Were you made to build some business, to create wealth, maybe to become a big politician, to bring the liberation and progress to your people? Maybe as a teacher, to help educate people, maybe as a nurse, as a doctor, as an engineer, to bring some fantastic engineering solution. What is it that you think you were made to do? You are not just made to come and work for salary and struggle all your life. That is not true. That is not true. That's secondly. The main thing is that there was something that God saw the need of. That's why He brought you here. And that's why He gifted you the way He gifted you. That's why you were even born in the family that you were born into. That's why you have the physical outlook like you have. If anything, any of those things would change, then you will not be you. If your mother is changing now, you will not be you. If your father is changing, you will not be you. You will not have the same eye, voice, teeth, nose. So everything that you came to this life with is perfect. It is perfect. And the one who made you needed you to be that so that you could do what He expected you to do. So it's your duty to find that one out. And it's just looking for a job. It's a job looking, it's not there. So the onus is on us to find out and to fulfill that mission. Our passion and desires are linked to what we've been destined to do on earth. This goes beyond money and status. This is where we get our fulfillment and our peace. If you see anybody who is living a fulfilled and peaceful life, it's because they have found why they were born, and they are making impact, bringing progress and development to humans, to other humans, bringing love and clarity to other people. And anybody in his element or her element who has found out how and why they were born, those people are at peace. And no challenge, no trouble can overcome those people. You know. So once it is found out, that's the destiny, all other things fall in place. Our revelation and growth of knowledge in what we are destined to do grows exponentially. That's something about purpose and call. You know, if you're called into something, it is easy for you to multiply in knowledge, in understanding in that thing, because you're already packaged that way. You are wired that way by the maker. So let's say you are a teacher and you feel like you were born to be a great teacher. You see that the things that you see about teaching is different. The kind of things that you can identify in children, you can pick any child and teach them to become great, because that's what you were made. Let's say you were born, you feel like you were a writer, so once you pick a topic that you're writing about, you see that your mind starts to work explosively. You start to connect with so many things. People will ask you, so how did you learn this? It's because you equipped with it. So the right kind of education in that would then just explode it. So our wisdom and your knowledge is always increasing, because it connects with divinity if you're in your element. And also our wisdom is seen in the area of our purpose. That's where our rare expertise is. The wisdom explodes when you are in that which you feel you were born to do. So our vision is clear when we are in our purpose. So this is another form of education. And this kind of education, school may not be able to find it for you. You have to find it yourself. So my name is Kwabena. I'm talking about I'm reviewing a book which is Perspective. I wrote this book the other day, and it has had very good report from people. I didn't write it for everybody. I wrote it for people who feel like they want to do something with their lives and they are not sure how to start and where to go. All of us needed somebody to give us some kind of information. And when you don't have the right kind of information, you delay, you go into detour. When you have knowledge, you have light. When you have light, you can see. So you put some thought in books, and young people, young men and women, those who have had the opportunity to read it, it's helping to set some kind of clarity. Because what we need as a people on this continent is really the light, knowledge as to what to do. And we are producing a lot of graduates who are coming out, and a lot of them would have to go and find something to do themselves, and some practical information can be of great importance to many people like that. So the last form of education is the financial or business education, and that is what the book is about, entrepreneurship. But you cannot just talk about business and money without talking about the other philosophy, the things that challenge people not to at least have the stamina to stay on this journey when things don't come out as they perceive them to be in the first place. So the number one instrument in creating wealth is entrepreneurship, which is another form of education. All great economists, the ones that are liberal, if you go there, the people who control a lot of wealth are people who took risk. Business risk, entrepreneurs who develop products that solve needs in society. They are the ones that the world rewards in terms of money. Our level of financial education determines the level of wealth we create and control. So the level of kind of financial education that you have, because finance is just coming from the wealth, the information, the skill that you have developed. So no matter the area we operate with, if we will be financially sound, our financial knowledge should be solid. People have confused professional career to making money, and they are not the same. You work to make impact with your gift, to help society to progress. But money is a common denominator. Everybody uses it. So the kind of knowledge you need to create money is different from the kind of knowledge you need to work to make impact in society. They are not the same. That's why you can have very good people who have worked all their lives and they still struggle financially, because the financial knowledge was not taught to them. They were taught how to work with some kind of technical information and work as professionals. And then they made them believe that once they pay them monthly, they will succeed. It's not like that. The financial information, the financial education that you have is independent. You can be anybody. As to have some quality financial information. You may not even start a business, but if your financial information is solid, you have a fair chance of solving or becoming financially free. The only thing is that it falls far, far better and faster in taking a business risk than the others. But you can still be employed if you have solid financial information, financial knowledge, if you make right intelligent investment decisions, you can still create some amount of wealth. The only thing is that don't confuse the salary to mean that you are going to create wealth. It's what you do with the salary that is going to, because most people will struggle all their lives with money because of this wrong education on money and job and things like that. So it's very critical that you separate. You know that this information is different from the other one. Okay, so we have trained engineers, doctors, accountants, lawyers, politicians who know little about finance and how it is created except by working for it. So what most people know about money is only the salary that they get from it, and that will not be able to bring financial freedom for anybody. And unfortunately, that's what we are also giving to our children. So we are telling them that once they are very good in school and they study well, they will get a very good job and then they will get money. That is not true. They will get job, work, and make impact professionally. But the money is a different field that they must study. It's like there are things that they study. If you don't know, you don't know. And working and getting pay is not enough information for you to solve the money challenge that a lot of people would have all their lives. So this is where nations are controlled and subjugated. So the nations who have quality financial education will control the other ones who don't have it. So even though some nations will have a lot of minerals, oil, they will still go and look for penny and beg people to come and take over because their financial education is weak. And nobody teaches proper financial education to create wealth from school. So your lecturers and your professors, they need this kind of education as well. Unfortunately, when they go to school like that, they think that they know everything, and yet the results will prove otherwise. The results will prove otherwise. The results will prove otherwise. And so, any area that you are struggling, it's likely that the education there is not adequate. It's not adequate. So, if we will create prosperous entrepreneurs, our financial know-how has to be ever increasing. So the entrepreneur, you cannot run your business with the financial knowledge that the other people would run, but you need a lot of financial knowledge. Nobody can do it for you. You have to, read, discipline yourself, and get up-to-date financial education, because the success of the business is directly linked to the financial education that you have. And if you don't have it, you'll struggle all your life. Your negotiation skill will be weak. There's not much that you will know. You can do much. And businesses collapse mainly because of the finances, mainly because of the lack of the financial leadership that the entrepreneurs will not be able to, were not able to produce or provide. So this is the end of there is the need for continuous training in all kinds of topics. This pushes us into serious thinking and conditions us into being great with what we have. So there are all kinds of education that we must know, and the fact the only one that that we all are very much conversant with is just the academic one. But there are so many kinds of things that you need proper, structured, constructive information on, and if you have that, then you can work with it to produce results. So you can work with it to produce results. So if you're an entrepreneur or you are thinking of a business, your education is going to reflect the successes or the failures that you're going to see with your business. The successes and the failures that you're going to see with your business, they are going to come from the kind of education that you have developed. So we talked about academic education, we talked about professional, we talked about the family or relationship kind of education, we talked about spiritual education, which they are using it to control a lot of us in Africa. Anybody at all can tell you that God told them to come and see this, and a lot of people will follow them, and they use fear fear of the unknown, fear of poverty, fear of lack, fear of pain, fear of mistakes. And people are just, instead of principles and laws, teaching people diligence, hard work, being honest, being disciplined, thinking, setting goals, pushing yourself, having patience, being persistent and committed to your goals. Those things that will push you to get to your goals. Now we don't have them. Now what people are looking for is magic. So somebody will go and pay 500 Ghana cedis to go and buy some oil, go and buy some towels somewhere, to go and buy some magazine somewhere, to go and buy something, or some bracelets, they put it on their neck, and then they will think that they will succeed. The facts don't support that. The people who are creating wealth, in all these countries, they are creating them because they are applying the principles, and the principles are open to everybody. That's why when you plant a seed in the soil, the water comes to everybody who planted seed. If it rains, it does not separate, it does not segregate. Whether you're a wicked person or you're a good person, when it rains on everybody's. Those are principles that the maker set. So there are principles to building anything, to building a business, to building a family, to building a career, to building a country. And those are principles that have been proven to work in a lot of countries everywhere. That if you want development, if you want progress, if you want to see success, there are basic principles that you must have. And these are the things that people are practicing. And these are the things that nature or God has set in place. So if you don't practice these things, you are just changing your future, waiting for somebody to give you supernatural power, something. If those things were rare, we want to see that supernatural development. So we want to jump tomorrow, Africa will be like, Ghana will be developed in a minute. It doesn't work like that. If they were able to do it, they would have done it. It doesn't work. Progress, development comes out of hard work, out of planning, out of discipline, out of goals. You want to get to thinking, creativity, innovation. Those are the things that bring results. And if you think that those things will be required to build a country, what makes you think that those things will not be required to build your business or your family? So there are principles. Don't worry about so much your wisdom, the level of wisdom that you have, the level of knowledge that you have, the level of understanding that you have. They reflect in your life. They reflect in your life. The level of life that you have. Nothing proves that more than the kind of wisdom that you operate with, the kind of education that you operate with, the kind of knowledge that you have is responsible for every facet of your life. And that is divine principle. That is divine principle. But unfortunately, because we have had a lot of people with a weak spiritual education who are teaching us, they have changed it. So now a lot of people are just looking for Malam, prophet, thinking that that is the way to get things done. And they have only produced people who are very much selfish. Selfish. Everything that they're looking for is for themselves. If you hear them talk about any testimony, it's God help me to get visa. God help me to get car. God help me to get, praise the Lord, now have a house, have a degree. It's not what they were used to build for God, what they were used to be a blessing to the other person. Because I think that is the kind of revelation, that is the kind of testimony, that is the kind of thing that you must be proud of. Not, oh, I had a degree, I had a computer, I pray, and I got a car. Those things are nothing. Those are for children. That which you've been used to be a blessing to many. That is the kind of spiritual education that people need, where you are very much compassionate, loving, kind. You show those things, you are kind. If you say that you know God, spiritual knowledge is high, you express God, you're kind, you're loving. You walk in wisdom, you walk in faith, you walk in understanding, you walk in knowledge. I cannot see you as somebody who believes that he is of God and be that ignorant and be that hateful and selfish. It's because the spiritual knowledge is weak. When we talk of spirituality, it's expressing divinity. And you cannot be spiritual and be that much self-focused and only interested in yourself. How can a country have so many people go to church and yet we have so much corruption and laziness? The productivity level is linked to spirituality. Spirituality is not dancing and singing in church. It's expressing divinity. Nobody fights when you are laughing. When you laugh, nobody will fight that. When you're kind, nobody will fight that. When you're wise, when they say that, oh, they are fighting Christianity. No, it's not Christianity that they are fighting. You are bringing religion, and that is what they don't want. If you're loving, if you're kind, if you're patient, if you're wise, if you treat people with dignity, those things the master came to teach. And that really is spirituality. So it's not you taking oil and putting it on your head and killing demons. That is not Christianity. And people are getting away with this kind of errors because the masses don't want to learn. So your spiritual education will have a lot to do with the kind of confidence that you have as a person. Other than that, they will use fear to control you. So many people are waiting for God to bless them to become rich, and it doesn't happen like that. He said his principles are there. So anybody who gets the principles will become rich. You don't need another man to be praying for you to be rich. The principles are there. Work, set goals, get discipline, get a product, go and solve problems for people, let people pay for it. You'll be wealthy. You don't need somebody to declare fasting for you to become rich. It's not true. How many of these people in the world who are very rich were prayed for? They're just using the principles that have been in place from the beginning of time. So we are the people who are not rich. We are the ones believing that it takes somebody to put some kind of thing on you for you to be rich, or for your business to succeed. You cannot think like that and build a strong business. You'll be a crook. You'll be a liar. You'll be somebody who will never work with principles. Because if you see anybody trying to use Christianity to build a business and my faith, and look at them, look at the practice, look at the character, look at the love, look at the faith, look at the wisdom being expressed. Those are the indications that somebody is representing a master. It's not the talking. You will see excellence. You see precision. You see value for human lives. You see somebody who is not competitive, trying to prevent people from succeeding. And so my name is Kwabena. I'm reviewing a book, Perspective, which I wrote, and it's about how to develop the mindset to start and build your business. We have done the introduction. We have done the first chapter, which is mindset. We have done the second chapter. The first chapter is perspective. The second chapter is mindset. The third chapter is educational foundation, and we are doing the second part of it. And we are talking about different kinds of education. And we have talked about academic education. We have talked about career kind of education, family education. Which, if you don't just go and say I want to marry you, you need proper information before you can have a strong marriage, peaceful home, freedom. Because people who were not properly trained, if they marry, it's disaster. That's why you can see a lot of divorces, because it's not something that you just carry your SHS certificate to say that because I went to SHS I can marry. And if they didn't teach you anything, if nobody gave you proper information on this, it is difficult, because it's not a human being that you're going to live it for the rest of your life. And there'll be a lot of conflict, and you don't go into these things without learning, having the capacity, the right information. But if you have the right information, it's easier. It's the same with the spiritual kind of education. If you don't have it, people will control you all your life. You will never be at peace. Today they are saying that, tomorrow they are preaching you this. They want you to be here because you don't have that kind of information. If you don't have the right information on business and entrepreneurship, when you meet problems, you will cry, you will weep. You think that there is a demon somewhere fighting you. And usually it's just part of the process. So the kind of education, and the education is not the degree one I'm talking about. I'm talking of constructive impartation of knowledge that can help you to put things in perspective and build something with it. That's education. It's education, and every one of them is key. So the third one is family education. The fourth one is spiritual or faith education. The fifth one is health and fitness education. The sixth one is racial or cultural or historical education. The kind of culture you understand. Our definition of culture has killed us and destroyed us. Culture is just something that a group of people create that can help them to solve problems and to dominate the environment. But we have, drop it to drumming and dancing and wearing something and eating fufu and calling it culture. Then we go to the Chinese to go and beg them to come and help us to sing KVIP and help us to build our roads and build factories. If a culture is solid, that culture will raise people. who produce people who can think and solve problems. Then it's a culture. Then it's a culture. So personal education is one, and then the last one is a financial and business education. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for watching. We share what we learn, and once we share, we are also learning immensely. One of the things that I've learned a lot, period, the time of my life that I've learned a lot is when I started to share what I know. When I started to share what I know, then when I started to share the things that could be of help to people, then I started to multiply in understanding knowledge. And so you can also share what you know. Share what you know, and you don't know what will do for somebody. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you.